wherever you are in this glorious world, wherever you're listening in from or tuning in from, I want to welcome you back to the Who Are You to Lead Anyway podcast for Mastering Skills to Navigate Leadership in Life, episode 6. In today's episode, I want to talk to you about the fear of failure. My intention here is to share what I've learned as a leader, HR professional, and coach, and I'll share my own experience and knowledge with this operating system we all have called the human brain. While we all feel fear, my perspective is that we don't talk openly enough about it. So unlike many, I'm going to do just that today. I'm going to offer you some choices, some questions to ponder, and ways to navigate your own fear with more ease and less angst. So let's dive in. First things first, I want to normalize it. Every human being experiences fear. It's the part of the human experience, the human condition, and it will continue to be the case. I think the answer to unlocking our fears is through curiosity. It's so interesting to me that fear is something we don't talk about openly or freely. This has a level of irony for me because what stops us is the fear of what someone will think or say about us when we share that we have this fear. Almost like, oh my gosh, I'm the only one. Now, as a new leader, you are facing things that you may not have faced before. And the human brain is biased to survival and safety. So again, not a surprise to experience fear. By creating fear, your brain is doing its job, and knowing this can be incredibly useful to understand how the brain can hijack your feelings and emotions. Now, while I'm no expert in the area of neuroscience, I know that the brain's job is to serve us thousands upon thousands of automatic thoughts as a result of the circumstances we're in. I know thoughts generate feelings and emotions in our bodies. Here's where it gets interesting. When I think about, for myself, I'm going to fail at something, of course it brings up negative emotions. And if I do take action from this energy, it isn't my best work. And it doesn't feel good to me because it's coming from a place of fear. Now, I've led myself and others from a fear-based mindset. It does happen. And while it worked out mostly, I wish my younger self would have known how to manage my own fears. I would have been such a more effective leader. It's taken me a lifetime to get to know this version of me and how I act, how I react, and how I do those things differently when the stakes are higher. And I still have fear like the rest of you. Some of them are rational and some of them are irrational. And I'll share some of those with you. So this brings me to what I've learned about working on myself, working with others as an HR professional and as a coach. I learned that there are new circumstances or whenever we encounter something new for the first time, fear often shows up. I've learned dealing with fears is like a game of 𝗬𝗂𝗰𝗄. So when one fear is combated, we'll use this language, another pops up. I learned fears are not facts, and just because we think it doesn't mean it's true. I learned to recognize fear comes from the area of brain that is focused on survival. I've learned to understand thoughts generate feelings and emotions in my body, and our fear of failure is rooted in our insecurity of not being enough in some way. I've seen this with hundreds of leaders. I learned that there are rational and irrational fears. For example, if I were to see a mouse in my house in this moment, let me tell you, I would be down the street so fast, probably barefooted without a coat. It's freezing cold here. But it wouldn't matter because I am incredibly fearful of a small, tiny mouse. Now, what's interesting is someone else would not be afraid of that tiny mouse. So two different people can have a different response to the same situation. Fascinating. So I learned from this how I speak to myself has an impact. And by encouraging myself, I can and have dealt with bigger fears. And by the way, I've dealt with that tiny and very dead mouse by talking myself through it. Talking myself through my irrational fears, telling myself I'm going to be okay, that I will survive, that I've done much scarier things, and I survived those too, and this is no different. I've learned to say thank you, silently or loud, depending on the circumstance, to my beautiful brain that's been trying to keep me safe. I learned once I was calm, I could answer the what if questions that my fears created and offered to me. And by doing so, I learned there are two sides to everything. Fear can keep me safe by keeping me in my comfort zone, or it can motivate me to do the next quote unquote fearful thing outside of my comfort zone. And maybe, just maybe in doing so, I actually can reach my full potential. Now there's a thought. I learned our brains are meaning-seeking and meaning-making machines. This is what they do all day long. And so I don't need to make my fear mean anything about me, my skills, my abilities, my competence, my confidence, or my self-worth. That's totally within my control. I learned that while I can't control everything, I can control my actions and reactions and how I respond. I learned that I can control my thoughts and feelings, and I can choose with intention to think and feel differently in a way that serves me. So it's inevitable that we will all fail or fall short at something, somewhere along life's journey, and how we overcome it is what really matters. So I want to offer you some practical ways to navigate this for yourself. So when you experience negative emotion, your brain is hijacked. It's like your hand is on the hot stove. And what do you do when you have your hand on the hot stove? You just remove it. It's not useful to you to keep your hand there because then other things begin to happen. So when you notice, you have a choice. You can have some empathy and compassion for yourself. Be honest with yourself about what you're feeling. When you're ready, there comes a couple of ways to calm your central nervous system once you notice. The first is box breathing. So this is done by exhaling to a count of 4, holding for a count of 4, inhaling for a count of 4, and holding for a count of 4. This is a simple tool for managing anxiety, a racing heart, upset, negative emotion, and one that I have used for decades, and I teach it to my clients. Another way is to ground yourself. You can do this by picking up or touching something like a pen or a cell phone, for example, and just focus on the texture, the temperature, the weight of it. Notice its edges and the sensations you're feeling. Or you can move your body. Take a short walk outside, which shifts the focus from your fear-based thoughts back to your body and can calm you. Once you're feeling calm, you can open your mind and spend some time answering your what-if questions that the brain has given you. For example, what if you do fail? What would your plan be then? What's the worst that could happen? There is so much agency, inspiration, and confidence in knowing these things and deciding ahead of time how you want to handle these things. So challenge yourself with curiosity to find 3 opportunities or possibilities that would be available as a result of overcoming the fear you're facing. One way to do this is to simply observe what is, without judgment, versus thinking how you think things should be. Maybe releasing the expectations you have of yourself or others. Notice if your mindset is fixed, meaning you want things to go your way. You only see one way, versus if your mindset is more of a growth mindset, asking yourself, what can I learn here? What if other people had added to this fear and we talk about it? What else could we create? You can also consider visualizing the outcome you want to have and the obstacles that you will face along the way. This is really important because you need to be able to imagine yourself working through those obstacles, doing the work you need to do to get what it is that you want to get done, and managing your fear along the way. So spend some time really visualizing that. The other thing is to surround yourself with people who inspire you, believe in you, and see your potential, who will challenge your thinking and your fear versus living into your fear, which will hold you back. Now, there's a great quote from Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist who founded logotherapy, which is a school of psychotherapy that describes a search for life's meaning as the central human motivational force. Victor said, between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space, it's our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. I used to think knowledge was power, and while this is still true, what's more powerful for me personally is raising my awareness of the choices I have and can make. I can choose to live in fear if I want to. I can choose growth and freedom instead of fear. I can choose to feel the fear and do it anyway. I can choose to challenge my thoughts or create new thoughts that serve me. I can choose to redefine fear. So instead of seeing it as an unpleasant thing that something is dangerous out there for me, I could choose to see it as the fuel that gets me moving in the right direction or the direction that I want to go. So I invite you to be curious and honest about your fear and consider asking yourself, whatever it is you're facing, what am I afraid of? Be specific. What are the facts? Has someone else done this? Have they survived? What's the best case scenario? What's the worst case scenario? And if either happened, what would you do then? Taking your brain to these places gives you perspective. And I want you to just notice something. All of the space for possibility between the best case and the worst case. What if you landed there? Is the best case worth the worst case? For example, is the potential embarrassment or humiliation of making a mistake worth your own growth, your future, your dreams? I want to vote for yes. So regardless of what you're afraid of, I want to leave you with this. Imagine your future self 20 years from now. What wisdom or guidance would your future self give you about this fear you're facing? And until next time, what fear can you face this week? Make it a great one.
Thanks for listening. Your feedback is a gift. Please rate and review with your honest opinion. Subscribe and share with your colleagues, especially if you've worked with me and found value in the work we've done together. Connect with me in my favorite places, LinkedIn and Instagram. My website is Cynthia Jamieson Coach, all lowercase, all one word, .ca. Until next time, make it a great week.